What really happened to Hollywood legend Jean Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa? At first glance, their deaths seemed natural, a beloved actor passing at the ripe age of 95, alongside his wife of 30 years. But as investigators dug deeper, disturbing details emerged, casting a long shadow of doubt over this seemingly peaceful end. This wasn't just a tragic coincidence. Something far more sinister was at play, and what investigators found will leave you questioning everything. Jean Hackman, a two-time Academy Award-winning actor, was a household name. From his role in The French Connection to Unforgiven, he left an indelible mark on Hollywood. But in his later years he retreated from the public eye, living a quiet, reclusive life with his wife, Betsy Arakawa, in their secluded home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He was admired not only for his incredible career but also for the way he had stepped away from the spotlight to live out his golden years in peace. No one could have predicted that his life would end under such mysterious and chilling circumstances. On February 26, 2025, maintenance workers arrived at the Hackman residence for a scheduled visit. When they knocked on the door, there was no response. At first, they thought it was simply a case of the elderly couple not hearing them, but as they waited and called out with no answer, a sense of unease began to grow. The door was unlocked and the workers cautiously stepped inside. What they found shocked them to their core. Jean Hackman, the Hollywood legend, was lying on the floor near the front entryway, fully dressed. His cane and sunglasses were nearby, suggesting he had been preparing to leave the house when something had stopped him, permanently. In another part of the house, the workers found Betsy Arakawa's lifeless body in the bathroom. She was lying on her side next to an overturned space heater, with prescription pill bottles scattered across the bathroom counter. The entire scene felt eerie, unsettling. How had two people in different parts of the house died around the same time? Something just didn't add up. The immediate assumption was that Jean Hackman, at 95, had passed away from natural causes. After all, it wouldn't have been shocking for someone of his age. But Betsy, only 65, was much younger and in relatively good health. The idea that they had both died suddenly raised red flags. Investigators initially floated the idea of carbon monoxide poisoning, a silent killer that can cause sudden death without any warning. It made sense. There were no signs of struggle, no signs of forced entry, and the scene appeared peaceful. But when the test for carbon monoxide came back negative, the investigation took a darker turn. If it wasn't carbon monoxide, what could have caused their deaths? And why had no one heard from them in the days leading up to their discovery? Friends and neighbors hadn't received any calls, and the couple had seemingly vanished from communication. As investigators pieced together the timeline, things started to get even more unsettling. One of the most critical pieces of evidence came from an unexpected source: Jean Hackman's pacemaker. This device, designed to regulate his heart rhythm, had unknowingly become a key witness to his final moments. Data extracted from the pacemaker revealed that his heart had stopped on February 17, 2025, 9 days before his body was found. This raised a crucial question: what had happened during those 9 days? If Jean had died on February 17th, was Betsy still alive during that time? If so, why didn't she call for help? Was she unaware that her husband had died, or was there something, or someone, preventing her from reaching out? As investigators began to examine the scene more closely, they realized that the position of the bodies didn't quite make sense. Jean was found fully dressed, as if he had been ready to leave the house when he collapsed. But Betsy's body was found in the bathroom, with signs that she may have been alive after Jean's death. Had she collapsed later, or had something even more sinister occurred during those 9 days? The discovery of their bodies raised a host of troubling questions. Jean's position suggested a sudden collapse. He was found near the door as if he had been heading out. His cane and sunglasses were right beside him. Meanwhile, Betsy's body was found in the bathroom, next to an overturned space heater and scattered prescription pills. The pills, the space heater, the seemingly peaceful setting, it all felt too strange. Why would a healthy woman of 65 die at the same time as her much older husband? And why were there no signs of a struggle or any external cause of death? Then came another perplexing detail: the couple's dogs. Jean and Betsy were known to be dog lovers, and they had 3 dogs living with them. 2 of the dogs were found alive, albeit distressed from being left unattended. But the 3rd dog was found dead, locked inside a closet. This detail seemed oddly out of place. Who had locked the dog in the closet? Had it been an accident, or had someone deliberately done it before fleeing the scene? As the investigation deepened, authorities began searching for a motive, and that's when they uncovered a critical lead: Jean Hackman's financial records. 4 years, Jean had entrusted his finances to a financial advisor, someone who had managed his assets and investments. But as investigators combed through the records, they found something disturbing. Large withdrawals had been made from one of Jean's investment accounts, totaling millions of dollars. Even more suspiciously, these withdrawals had been processed without Jean's direct authorization. The plot thickened when investigators learned that Jean had fired this financial advisor just weeks before his death. The exact reason for the termination wasn't immediately clear, but those close to Jean revealed that he had become suspicious of discrepancies in his finances. Had Jean uncovered financial fraud? And if so, had his discovery led to his death? The most damning clue came on February 18, 2025, one day after Jean's pacemaker recorded his final heartbeat. On that day, someone had attempted to access Jean's primary accounts, but the bank had automatically locked the account, as it required verification from Jean himself. Whoever tried to access the funds had assumed that Jean was still alive, or had just learned that he wasn't. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation. Could it be that Jean's death wasn't natural at all? Had someone close to him played a hand in his demise for financial gain? As investigators dug deeper into the financial angle, they uncovered even more troubling details. A neighbor reported seeing an unfamiliar car parked outside the Hackman residence on February 17, the same day Jean's pacemaker recorded his final heartbeat. Security footage from the gated community where the Hackmans lived confirmed that a vehicle had entered the neighborhood that day, staying for nearly 2 hours before leaving. While the footage was grainy and the identity of the driver remained unconfirmed, the timeline couldn't be ignored. Had the driver been the financial advisor? And if so, what had happened inside the house during those 2 hours? Meanwhile, toxicology reports revealed another disturbing detail. Betsy Arakawa had traces of a sedative in her system, a drug commonly prescribed for anxiety and sleep disorders. While the presence of the drug wasn't entirely unusual for someone of her age, what alarmed investigators was the concentration. It was significantly higher than the typical prescribed dose. This raised new questions. Had Betsy taken the medication herself, or had she been given it? And if she had been drugged, was it possible that Jean had been drugged as well? Could their deaths have been part of a carefully orchestrated plan? As investigators explored these leads, they began formulating several possible theories. One of the most unsettling possibilities was that Jean's death hadn't been natural at all. Could the financial advisor have been involved? Perhaps Jean had confronted the advisor about discrepancies in his accounts, leading to a confrontation that resulted in Jean's sudden collapse. At 95, with a known heart condition, even a stressful argument could have triggered a fatal cardiac event. But was it just stress, or had something more deliberate been done to silence him? And then there was Betsy. If she had been alive after Jean's death, had she witnessed something that put her in danger? Could she have been eliminated to ensure she couldn't talk? The presence of the scattered pills and the overturned space heater seemed suspicious. Was it staged to look like an accident? The dog found dead in the closet was another puzzling detail. Had Betsy locked it there after Jean's death? Or had someone else? With each new piece of evidence, the case against the prime suspect, the financial advisor, grew stronger. The unauthorized withdrawals, the failed attempt to access Jean's accounts, the presence of the unknown car, and the sedatives found in Betsy's system all pointed to something far more sinister than a natural death. Investigators turned to forensic science for the final pieces of the puzzle. They meticulously examined cell phone records, text messages, and call logs to determine the last moments of communication from the couple. DNA evidence was also being analyzed, with crime scene analysts testing surfaces throughout the house for unidentified fingerprints. If someone else had been in the house, there could be physical proof left behind. Financial forensic specialists were conducting a deeper audit of Jean's estate, searching for any evidence of fraud or suspicious transactions in the weeks leading up to his death. As investigators pieced together the final clues, one thing became clear: this was no ordinary death. What had initially seemed like a tragic coincidence was now being viewed as a possible murder. The question remained: was Jean Hackman's death the result of a financial conspiracy? And had Betsy Arakawa become collateral damage? The truth was closing in, and soon, the world would know what really happened behind the doors of their Santa Fe home. The final toxicology reports and forensic evidence would hold the answers. Whether it pointed to natural causes or a carefully planned crime, one thing was certain: this Hollywood legend's death was far from ordinary. Stay tuned as we uncover the shocking truth behind the mysterious deaths of Jean Hackman and Betsy Arakawa.